We welcome in the king of crypto,
Stephen Bell.
I got hit a lot. Just we're both kind of.
Were you in a school where you were like known?
No.
I was a complete
If you're an authentic person, you will lose people and be like, why do people not like me suddenly? Why do people see me say my things that are bad and then they'll use it to gatekeep? They have their own secrets. I know people very well. I also know that you have some bad secrets that if I was to reveal them, you would be unhappy. They Googled my name, saw that I was a criminal, convicted, posted it, like a big article, and on IV. She's like, I'm fine. I'm like, promise you won't leave the camp. Don't leave the camp. We're in the jungle, like deep in the jungle. Everywhere you look is trees. And then they found her in the river. Like, she's dead.
Stephen Bell.
That's it.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We've met briefly before.
At fight. Great to see you all.
Great to see you too. I mean, look, at your fight, I was pleasantly surprised because there was a lot of people fighting that day, and I had the pleasure of seeing most of them. Now, when you fought, I had no idea who you were, but when you fought, the entire crowd was cheering your name, the king of crypto, the king of crypto.
I think it helped because I sponsored the event. So I think
maybe that's why. Everybody had a little tip.
That's it, yeah.
But I was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And then you came out and you looked like a killer. You looked like a dog. You came in, you won the fight.
Yeah.
You were amazing. And I look forward to seeing your next one.
Thanks, man. I think I won on not technique. I just won on kind of brute intensity.
Brute force.
Right? Try to brute force it through. I know I'm not a good boxer, like technically, so I just try to make up for it. I just know that you have to be aggressive. As soon as you step back, I think with boxing, it's a big problem. Because then they feel it. They're like, I've got momentum. I feel like if you're not good, you have to win it in momentum. You have to pressure, and hope that they break.
Well, like I said to you when we came in here, before the other fighter came out, it looked personal.
Yeah.
You know, you looked like you had a vendetta out, like you were up to something.
Yeah, they changed my fighter. So I had my original fighter. This is at Fight Gecko's competition. I think you were with Warren.
Yes.
Mechanic.
Yeah.
He had a fight recently as well. But he won his, I think, as well. He won his fight.
Yeah,
so
second round, I think.
His was, he won by stoppage. And then they had mine. They changed my fighter. So I had a face-off with a guy. We did the face-off. We did all of the smack talk. You know, you're fucked. You're going to lose. And then a few hours before the fight, he went home. And then they walked around, I think, and said, who wants to box at this weight? Who wants to go? So I respect the guy that pulled up, right? I don't know if someone said to me, I was at the event and they said, do you want to box? I'd be like, probably not. I'm already here.
Did sleep well last night.
I'd say no, yeah. But he stepped up, so full respect to him.
Nice.
And I think that we were both stressed. I think he was under stress as well. So it just was like a dog fight, right?
Yeah.
Because he's stressed, I'm stressed. Your natural reaction is just fight or flight. And then I don't think it was very technical. It was just two guys just trying to stop each other. So it was good. It was a good fight too. I had a headache after. I had my head ringing. I drank after. Drank 5-6 tequilas, wasted. Because I don't know if you're meant to, I don't know if you're meant to drink so much if you've been hit. I think I got hit a lot.
Yeah.
Because it was just, we're both kind of, he holds my head, I hold his.
And that after party was pretty long as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Are you going in December? Are you fighting?
Be there. I'm not going to fight, but I'll be at the event.
You're retiring?
I don't think Warren's fighting again as well.
Warren's fighting?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be a good
I think Warren's main card.
Okay, yeah. I believe that.
There's a lot of people fighting. I think Rory was announced yesterday. Marcel.
Yeah.
Marcus. Do you know Marcus?
I don't know Marcus, that I've not met him, but I know of him.
Yeah, good friend of mine. He's fighting as well.
And he's quite talented, right? I think he's quite a good...
Yeah, he's southpaw.
Yeah, okay.
Which I've never seen him fight professionally, but he's southpaw. And he posted a video the other day. I was like, man's actually got hands.
He's quite talented, and I know Rory's quite good, and then others, I think Marcel would be quite good, trains with Tate, right?
Yeah,
so that'd be quite
I don't
good.
think I've ever seen Rory fight, so that would be a...
Yeah, it'd be entertaining. I think that he'll be like a bulldog.
Yeah. The other guy, whoever is that guy against him, I feel bad for them.
He's an aggressive character. He's got that English lad energy, right? Like kind of the soccer hooligan days. Right?
He doesn't care.
Like
Give him anyone.
Head butter.
Yeah. Rip the teeth out.
Yeah.
So tell me, man, everybody at that fight was hyped for your fight, and I'm not 100% how they know you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm quite unsure how everybody knows you.
Yeah.
I followed you since on Instagram. I would say one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the podcast today is because you're very real. You're very authentic.
I think.
You like to come across as who you truly are.
Yeah,
and I really admire that. I saw you say something about karmic retribution, and
I think it's true. Yeah, karmic debt, right? Try to close the cycles.
And evil eye, obviously protecting your privacy,
which can be a thing. Evil eye is a real thing, I believe. If you have an idea and you push it out, so you have a vision or an idea and you say it too soon, it's like having a girl and you say to your mother or someone, you're like, Mom, I got feelings that she might be something, like I might get married or she's the one. And then 1 or 2 months later, you're like, what changed. I think it's like that, like the saying of
The
what is it,
energy.
Art of War or something, where they're like, make your plans like as impenetrable as the night and strike as a thunderbolt, right? Like that has to be part of the strategy.
Yeah, it's like you have that plan, you tell one
Yeah.
person, and they're either going to be loving it for you,
true.
they're really happy, or they're secretly like,
Or they can it sometimes, or they're like, dude, like, are you sure? Like this podcast, are you sure they need another podcast? Maybe you don't need, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
And then just
The
some
podcast
little
goes
doubt,
terrible.
some slight doubt forms in your head where you're like, you're just off a little bit. And this sort of podcasting is energy, right? Like it's energy related. If you can be you can see even Rogan, right? He has certain people on that might not be like complete subject matter experts, but they just flow perfect.
Yeah.
And then he has others on and the person might be rigid. And that's part of Rogan's strength, right? He can get like Musk on, he can get Zuckerberg, he can get guys that are like very logical and he can get something out of them.
They
where
can get,
people
like,
humanize
super hippies.
Yeah, he humanizes them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Zuckerberg and guys like that, they're hard to humanize from
Yes.
any interview that I've seen. They're very rigid, logical, deep thinkers, but it doesn't televise very well. But now they've done very well in that regard.
I would like to bring back the format I usually do on this podcast, which might be a bit different for you.
Nah, I'm fine.
But I want to explore your past. I
Yeah.
want to explore you
Let's do it.
from a child,
Yeah.
in school,
brilliant.
growing up, all the challenges and things that you've faced,
brilliant.
leading to right here today, who
do it.
you are.
Yeah, wonderful.
So tell me, what was young Bell like as a kid?
I was a kid, so I was born in Traralgon, Victoria. It's a town, I was born in the capital city of my little town, so it was about 15 or 20,000 people at that time.
Yeah.
My parents, Kay and Ron, that's why I named after my dad. My dad was in the army, and then he's a hard worker, my dad, but he ended up getting sick when I was younger. He had a heart condition, cardiomyopathy, and he was waiting for a heart transplant for a lot of my life because we don't have a lot of money, so it's hard to get, like on the public system, it's a struggle. They call you up, but they know that it might be like 5 or 10 years. His heart was in a pretty bad condition, but so I grew up, have 2 sisters.
How old were you at that?
I would have been 10 or 11 when he had his heart thing, and that lasted forever. It's never really come good, but he's still alive and he does quite well. And so that period, and then I grew up. My parents were good parents, but I went to 8 schools during the period because he was sick. We were always he was working, and then it was hard to you need to go to this hospital. You've got to go to this hospital, and when you're in a small town, it's often you have to go to Melbourne, then you have to go to a different part of Melbourne. It was difficult for him because he's trying to put it all together with a serious illness, right? Like his heart would be EV function 40, 30, 20, 15, where it's not working very well, and he's walks around, he's like you could see fear. Like I saw fear for the first time as a kid, where I'm like, he's afraid that he might die.
Yeah.
And it's a different thing, right? Like you stand up and he's like what? Where you look and you're like, this person, it's real. This is like a real heart problem. This isn't just like some.
As a kid, that is probably the scariest thing, isn't it?
Not like a broken leg or a broken, even a spine or something. You're like, this person at a random point could just be gone.
And it's not like there's a imminent threat. It's not like you can see somebody coming.
You can't see it, right?
It's just
and
this
you see them
magical
getting
thing.
weaker and weaker and weaker, and it's hard when you're a kid, right? So my role model of my dad is this. I never had the dad that I saw as a superhero.
Yeah.
Like some guys have seen it, because not that he was when he was in the army, he's very strong, but he was sick for a lot of my life. So I always saw that sick.
Yeah.
So, and when you're sick,
That must be hard for your dad as well, right?
yeah, very hard for him as well.
Yeah.
And I think that he never wanted me to see him in such a state. So it was it was a constant state of confliction for him.
Yeah.
Because you don't get the respect as the physical creature. Like you're like, my son sees me and I'm slam
Crippled.
basketballs down and doing stuff, but you see him on the couch and stuff and you
Yeah.
can't. So I think it was very challenging for him. And he always used to say to me and be like, it feels like I've lost a large part of my life. And that was the general consensus while walking around. He's like, I feel like I had 10 or 20 years stolen off me. So it was a hard sort of environment to be around. And then I would just, be at school. We were changing schools all the time. Didn't have a lot of money because mum would have to work as well. Dad would stay home. I would be at school, 8 schools in 8 years.
Yeah.
So it was always the new guy.
New friends.
When you eventually start making friends, but eventually you're like, I give up.
Yeah.
Like you're at new school for a period where you're like, I don't want to make friends because I know it's not going to last.
Yeah.
But you get very good at like reading people, I guess. But then you get picked on, right? Because you don't accumulate any of you're at new school here.
You're not part of any
you're
groups.
part of nothing. You have no association and it starts to fuck you up. But then I was, so I used to play Counter-Strike as well. I played professional back in like the beta 3 stages and a period of that before we made any money.
Nice.
But that was the thing that kind of got me out of the hood, as it were, because I ended up moving from there to Queensland. But a lot of things like happened in between that. I had many realizations. I was like a skinny, fat kid. I had bad psoriasis, bad dandruff. I didn't have my stuff together at all. We didn't have a lot of money. We're always moving around. My sisters would graduated, like they'd left the house. So it was just me. Lived in a small town. And I was talking about this story. I have like a Telegram, and I was talking about this story of one day where it all changed for me. I had this idea that I would have this party. So I was like 14 or 15. I had an idea that I would have this.
Were you in a school where you were like known?
No. I was a complete nothing. Okay, I had this idea that I would have this party in the garage at our house. Lived in Troggan South at that point. It was like a town of 200 people. Okay. Like very small. Yeah. My dad was there. My mum wasn't there. She'd like left. So it was me, my dad was, but I didn't tell him that I was having this party. I had no friends. Okay. I had no one to invite. I bought party invites, and I had like this vision that I burnt a CD, had party invites, had like this old like Walkman player. You know, the things that you put the CD in and it just plays. Yeah. And I had this perfect idea for what I would do. And then I had like this, I think I had a period of that was like my first ego death. So I had a moment where it was there. And it's like the whole day, all of a sudden I realized like I was sitting up the shed. It was like 8 or 9 at night. And it's like 0 degrees where you breathe out and it's just frost. Yeah. And I'm sitting in the shed. It's like kind of getting dark, like 8 or 9 at night. There's no one there, no one around, dead silence. And then I sat down on the couch, and there was a couch there. And there was like another couch that had like a bunch of clothes opposite me. And I sat down, and in that moment, something like reality itself broke. And then I looked up at the couch and I saw like this like shadow figure, and it morphed into a person, like some sort of person. And it started speaking to me. It's like, you're like, and I believe that's the first confrontation I've ever had with my shadow. Okay. My shadow self of like, it confronted me in a way where it's like, you're a loser. That's true. But you won't always be a loser. Like you'll be able to do many things with your life, but you need to leave this environment. You need to leave this house. This house is, you're with a person who's sick and old, and in doing so, they're going to drain you. Mm-hmm. And then essentially many things that it had told me about your future, where I was a kid, town of 200 people. I had no money. My parents are not from money. It's like one day you'll have a lot of money. Like you'll be very rich. You'll travel the world. You'll do many things, but you need to get out of this environment that you're in. And then it's like, it like almost like played these images in my head, where it's like the kids are laughing at you because you're a loser. Like it's real. This isn't a fake story. You're really the guy that they laughing at you because they should. And like, it. Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't a thing where it's like, it's like, this is all your fault. But in doing so, you can change all of these things. And then I sort of like sat in that moment. I remember thinking, I was like, oh, that was like 5 minutes, but it was like 45 minutes or an hour.
How high were you?
I was sober. I hadn't done anything.
Was this the night of the party?
Yeah, the night of the party.
No
one came. I think that was the thing of like something had built up to that point, and then I think I had like an ego death because I had an idea where I think I was still coping. Like, when you're a loser, but in your head, you think
this was like your last chance. This is your last resort.
You're not quite anything that you expected that you were. Yeah. And then I had a realization where it's like, it's okay to be a loser. Yeah. Like you're still a kid. But it's not okay to stay a loser. That was the realization that I had in that moment. And I've had it since. I went to prison and I've been confronted by the exact same shadow figure that's told me to get my shit together. It's happened to me twice in my life. But that was the beginning of it, right? And a lot of the things that it said, it's like you're playing Counter-Strike. Mm-hmm. There's no money in that. Like you're goofing off.
You were doing this at the time of the party?
Yeah, this is goofing off. Like this is a distraction.
How old are you, by the way?
14 or 15.
No, like now?
40.
Okay.
So a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then I had after that moment, I left school. I left school at 15. I was at school year 9, only studied 9 years. And then not long after that, I left school. And then I started working at like Hungry Jack's or sort of McDonald's jobs. Yeah. And then my idea was I just need to get out of where I am.
You said you got involved in kind of like hood activities. Yeah. What was that like? How long was that in your life?
I was out of the army. So I was in the army for a period, only for a few years. I wasn't anything special in the army. I had an accident. And then
why did you make the decision to join the army?
My dad was in, and I learned from the army. A lot of guys don't really like the army concept now, and I can understand why. But if you're a man or a boy who doesn't have anything happening, like you've done nothing, you essentially haven't learnt the basics. Your dad was maybe sick, or he wasn't there, or you weren't there, and now all of a sudden you're like 20, and you're like, because that's one of the only ways to get whipped into shape quickly.
Yeah.
And at least get paid during the process.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. Like people think, oh, but I could be deployed and killed. And of course you could be. But what's the alternative? Like a slow death, like in an office cubicle or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But if you don't have the foundational stuff done, it doesn't matter.
You used it as like your school, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, because I didn't have any school of like education of the traditional system.
Like the
and I was very aware.
the masculinity side of life.
I was aware of that. But
Yeah.
then I also learnt the street smarts there. But when I was at school, like when I was in the army, I was a shit fight as well. Like I didn't have any of my shit together. I was only ever good at the like brute forcing thing.
Yeah.
I'm not delicate. I'm not like a shooter who's like
the assault course.
Yeah, sartorial who's like, a very talented shooter that does it really precise and things like that. Precision has never been something that I'm good at. I'm like the blunt instrument that can be good or really bad, right?
So how did that tie into your hood life?
Yeah, after that I got out. So I had an accident. I was in a helicopter training exercise. So we had to do this Hewitt training, it's called. So helicopter underwater escape training. You have to do it before going to Afghanistan. They put you in a helicopter. It's a Black Hawk. It's just a simulated one. But then they drop it in the pool and then it sinks all the way to the bottom of the pool, starts to roll, and then you have to get out. You're in your full cams, full uniform, full boots. So it's not as easy as it looks. You don't have a breather. You don't have any, there's meant to be
You've
a diver.
been shaken up.
Yeah, you're shaking.
Yeah.
You can't see much because it's very bubbly. Like it's very frothy under there because it's rolling and there's a lot of, you can't do a lot down there. You can't see much.
That's a crazy exercise.
Yeah. And then I got, so we went down, dive, took my breath, and the person next to me missed their breath. So we're in like a helicopter thing and we have our like harness on, and they went to the bottom of the pool and I didn't know they missed their breath, but they like went to climb out because they're like, oh, I missed my breath. I got to get out now. And then they jumped out and their harness went over my head. And then so we're stuck at the bottom of the pool and I didn't notice. And then all of a sudden the machine starts to roll because I can't really see them even exit because you can't see a lot there, but you know to reach and like, your window's there and you climb out. And then so the harness is wrapped around my head. And then as soon as it started to roll, I'm like, whoa. And then it rolls faster. And if you've ever been jolted when you're holding your breath, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, whoa, now I'm
Like
panicking.
your head's being pulled off.
And I'm like, I've coughed my air out. Now I'm like, whoa, I've got no breath here. Because all of a sudden you just reefed and you don't expect
Underwater.
it. Yeah. And then I got so the things around my head. Then I went to pull the rest of the harness off. Got trapped further. My arms were trapped. There was a diver there. And then he didn't have the knife. So they're meant to have a knife to cut all of the stuff off to get you out. He didn't have it. So they had to they're trying to pull it off me, and then they have to go to the surface to lift the machine up, and it's on a crane, and it's very slow, like lifting the machine up when you can't breathe.
Yeah,
it's like very, very slow. But in that period, so I was stuck at the bottom of the pool. I had he's like, you got to put your hands on your head when you're in a panic. I immediately put my hands on my head that I'm like in a panic because I can't get out.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't get the stuff off because it had wrapped around my head and my arms. But then in that moment, I remember, so I'm stuck at the bottom of the pool. And then I remember I was like, oh, I'm going to die like this.
In a
like
training.
this is it. Like in a fucking training exercise, like a kind of a bullshit exercise. Like I remember thinking, I'm like, this is it.
It's like a worst case scenario exercise as well.
This is it. It's like dying on like a parade march.
Yeah.
Slipping on a puddle or something.
Or like when you get on a plane and they do the safety thing. It's like that.
That's right. Yeah. You're like, you're going on. And then I remember thinking, I'm like, this is it. And then I had so I could still see like up, and because I had like windows on the top of so it was still a pool, but they had windows at the top that were like kind of not stained glass, but they were very bright. And then all of a sudden I remember I was like, oh, well, it's over. And I started to get like things flashing before my head. All of these like visions and things that I'd had where I'd spoken to someone in the moment and done like a kind gesture and how it had affected them in the future. Like even the smallest gesture.
Did you think about the bad things as well?
Then not so much the bad things. I saw it mostly good. The good
Yeah.
things, like a kind gesture, how it can really affect someone, like a hey, how you going, to someone who's like, you don't know that they're having a really shit day, and how it can affect them, kind of like the butterfly effect concept. And then I looked up, and then I saw like this hand go over my mouth, and I felt like this light. And then it's the same thing comes into my head, and it's like, trust me, don't breathe, hold your breath, and you'll get out of here. Just hold your breath. Don't breathe in, because if you breathe in all this chlorine and you nuke yourself, right? I think you can drown, right?
Yeah.
And then you can drown later where they get you out and you're all messed up. And then they did, right? So I got the machine, they brought the machine up, and I've had the same vision once before. Like I had a near death, another one, and I saw the exact same, or not the same thing, but I felt the same figure, like a Virgin Mary, some woman that like put her hand over my mouth and said, don't breathe and trust me and it'll be okay. And then I didn't. And I remember in that moment, I wanted to breathe so badly because I remember thinking, I'm like, And then I just let go, right?
You just knew not to.
You just let go. Sometimes you just do, right? You just like, it's the hardest thing to do, I think, to give up trust like that. But I've felt that once before and it's paid off.
So after that,
they lift the machine up and then they had to like drag me to the side of the pool. I didn't get resuscitated, but they come good. But I remember after it happened, I went to the shower and I'm like, oh, I'm going to clean myself up. Because I was like shaking, like really white and shaking up. And then I remember I sat in the shower, had a shower and sat on the bench they had there. And I remember I looked up and like 3 hours went by in like 1 minute. It felt like. Yeah. Like, and then I realized in that moment too that something broke because I couldn't sleep. Oh no, the first time I slept, I went to bed that night and I slept for like, I don't know, like 18 hours, something massive. And my girl at the time was like, something's wrong. And then the relationship just spiraled because I couldn't sleep. I was annoyed. I was prickly. I used to do like
after the accident, how did you leave the military? Was it?
I ended up getting kicked out for steroids.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, for distribution. Allegedly. Yeah. That wasn't proven.
How long were you in there after that accident?
So that would have been probably maybe 6 months, but that was kind of but
that was your breaking point.
To be fair, I was an exceptional soldier already. Yeah. So when you're already mid-range, like you're average. Yeah. You don't have a lot of movement. If you're exceptional, and then they're like, his performance is worse, but he's still pretty good. But when you're average and then your performance goes pretty low, it's not a good thing. And that's what happened. But yeah, after that, I was like gambling a lot. I ended up with a gambling habit, like a massive habit for gambling, like nonstop. And then it just brought the worst out of me, like aggressive, short-tempered, very paranoid.
How old are you at this point?
I would have been
23.
Yeah, 23 around that. Yeah, and then I was paranoid at night, really paranoid that someone would break in for some reason, even though it had never happened.
You had like no enemies.
Yeah, no enemies, no problems. And then just paranoid a lot, like very stressed a lot of the time, biting my hands and stuff.
Do you think like that near-death experience really made you fear death?
No, I think it's much for me now, it's much the opposite. I don't think I felt death, but I think you know that it's around. Yeah. I have a theory that I don't know if you can really die until you've done everything you're meant to do here. I think quantum immortality might be real. So every time you have a near death, you actually died, but you come back to a spot that you didn't die. If you were to get a handgun and pop, I think that there's a very real chance that you would lose a part of yourself, or you would go to an area where that just was a misfire. Yeah. I believe it's very likely that's the case. You have a mission or a purpose or something here, and until it's completed, you will continually come back.
I like that thought. Yeah. I like that thought process. It's very good. I think
it's quite true. Yeah. I think it's true from the experiences I've had. But suicide, I think, changes the process because I ended up getting out of the army, or I was going to get out. I had a suicide attempt. Couldn't sleep. Ended up taking like a ton of Xanax. So I got prescribed medication. So before that, they're like, you should see the psych. You need to see them. Your performance is shit. You're angry. You're pissed off. You can't sleep. I was like, okay, I'll see the psych. Saw the psych. And then during this period as well, my girlfriend at the time, because I was a shit boyfriend as well, I was cheating on her a lot, being a shit bag, gambling a lot, lying about it. Where are you? I'm on my way home, but I'm at the pub gambling constantly. But she used to think that I was cheating on her a lot more than I was, right? Because the gambling was the cheating. I would be at the pub on the pokies, but she would be like, you've been gone 4 hours. He must be fucking cheating or doing stuff. I wasn't cheating with that, but I was cheating in another process that I couldn't admit to. So it was still deception. Yeah. Nothing can be manufactured from deception. But then I went to see a psychologist or psychiatrist in the army. And then so during this period, my ex at the time's like, this is shit. Like, this guy is not someone that I want to be with. Yeah. we met together in Wagga Wagga. We moved to Townsville. I made a lot of promises that I would be, the guy who's worth moving for. Probably
Don't
wasn't.
You worry. Probably I'm going to turn it around.
Wasn't. Yeah. I wasn't even in the beginning though. Let's be frank. I was very average.
You were going through your own thing.
I was very average, and then after that I was far below average. Okay. And then I went to go see the psychiatrist. She worked in a law office. Then she wants like the breakup sort of ideas start. I'm yelling at her at home, to be fair. I'm pretty dysfunctional guy to be around, so I get it. And then she goes to the police, says, I want to take a harassment order out on him, or domestic violence order. He's sending me harassing messages. I'm worried about him. He's a little bit crazy, and I was yelling at home.
Were you drinking a lot?
I was pissed off. Not so much, a little bit,
Yeah, with the gambling,
running it all together. Lying, being like explosive, because when you're doing shit wrong, you're angry at yourself, but you project it on another. Like I'm gambling, and then I would turn around and be like, this is your fault. Yeah. So I understand that's horrible. Like that's such a horrible projection.
You're not like taking on the problems yourself.
And you pass it on to the other, and it makes them feel really bad, right? Because then women too, they're very sensitive. They start to think there's some merit there. Maybe I am the problem. And then It's very toxic.
Yeah.
And then she takes DVO out on me. She calls my warrant officer. He's like, okay, this guy's shitbag, mental problems, and he's got a DVO now. Let's get this guy out of the army. Like this guy, now we've got 3 things. We don't want to look after this person or manage it. This guy's a problem. So my warrant officer was speaking to my ex, and my ex was like attractive, young. So he's 40 or 50. So it's a bad mix.
Yeah.
She works in a law firm. It's a big problem for me.
You've already got a bit of a rep.
It's a bad problem for me. And then I realized too, I was seeing psychiatrists. And then they had like this public drive, and this was investigated, and it's like on the media, it's been posted. They had a public drive, and they started posting my psychological information on it. So it was a public drive for the whole unit, 1,000 people, and they started posting my like private. So I would see the psychologist, tell them some
like
stories,
deep things,
and then they would post it on the thing.
Oh,
and then
nice.
I found out about it like much later, obviously.
Yeah.
And then essentially I found out they were sharing my private records with the whole unit. And then after that, I was like, obviously explosive, pissed off. And then I felt just like, I don't know.
Were they allowed to do that?
No. It's a big breach of privacy. And then I found out just embarrassed. Like, they're sharing like, you're breaking up with your girl. She's got this problem. You got this issue, this shit from your past.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff
You're
share
upset
with
about
psychiatrists.
this.
That you don't want shared. This guy might be nuts. We're investigating him for, he's got some PTSD or some other problems. But you're going through all of this at once. And then you feel like people are talking about you in private, like you're stressed already. And now I'm like, I don't want to go to work because I feel like everyone's gossiping about me. Like I'm already paranoid. And now I feel like, and I know they are because it's public now.
You would be. Yeah,
they're not telling me. I would be too.
Yeah,
I would have been like, look at this fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, but I'm that guy. And I didn't have really many allies in that point. And then I remember one day so my ex, they're like, you have to move back on barracks. We have to monitor you. You have to move back on base. And being moved back on base is like being like babied. Like you have to be moved on. And that means that you have to show a pass to go in, show a pass to leave. They're watching what you do. And then I remember I moved back on base, whatever. But before that, I'd come back from field. So I'd come back from a field exercise, got home, and this is the day my ex left. I walked inside. I called her when I got back so I got back from exercise. I'm like, I'm coming home, baby, but no answer. And I'm like, I know kind of where this is going to go, right? I could feel it. It's probably the best decision for her that she made. And then I walked in, unlocked the door. There's nothing in the house.
She's gone.
Everything's taken.
Didn't even tell you.
She left the mattress on the floor.
Damn.
She took all the furniture, everything. Mattress on the floor and a single cup.
Premeditated.
Yeah. But still, I kind of respect it because it was...
Do you think it was good for you?
I think it was good for me too. And it was good for her because I was a sinking ship.
Yeah.
Like for real. You're with someone who's like going through things they've never been through before. Like it's not safe. Like when someone can't sleep and they're next to you and they're paranoid, it's not safe. You don't know. Ironically,
from the story you told me, you've kind of ended up in the same situation as when you were at school.
True, right? That's very true.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's ironic, yeah. But so that happened, and then I got moved on barracks. And then one day I remember thinking, I'm like, I just don't want to go to work. I can't sleep. Like I'm laying down. I don't know if you've had that before, where you're just laying down to sleep, and you're like, you're in a trance, but you're not asleep.
You're not tired.
And then you look up, and you're like, you're not tired either.
Yeah. You're wide awake. Your body's tired. Your mind's fully awake.
Yeah.
You want to put something on because...
Yeah. And then it happens like a day, week, 2 weeks, and then you're kind of like looking at your clock, and then you see it's like, oh, I've got to be up in 4 hours. I've got to be up in an hour. And then you're like, I've got to be up in 30 minutes. And then you just punch through. You're like, I'll have a couple of coffees and I'll get up. But you can do that once, twice, 3 times. But eventually you're like, I don't want to get up anymore. And then I remember thinking, I'm like, maybe I don't want to get up again. Because I was ultimately going to be taken out of the army. At that point, I knew that my career was not looking very good.
Yeah.
So then I had my dad. I was like, he's going to be disappointed once he hears that I essentially got kicked out of the army. I didn't really accomplish a lot. Mm-hmm. My mom's going to be, probably not too happy with me. They live in Brisbane. I'm in Townsville. It's a few thousand kilometers away. I don't have really any money at all either. I've been pissing my money gambling. I have a pretty serious gambling habit at that point as well. And then I remember just said I had my medication that they'd given me. It was like Xanax, and I come to realize it's quite powerful. They were giving me a lot of crap when the first time you've ever had medication is like super powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Valium, Xanax.
Xanax makes you feel like you're not
and something
real,
else. Yeah,
right?
That's right. Depersonalization. And then I remember I was just like, I wonder what happens if you took it all. And these are like the Google days where you just Google things. They didn't have Grok. They didn't have ChatGPT. I remember it's like, you don't take all of this because you might not wake up. And I remember I just took it. I smashed like as much of it. I had like a Jack Daniels, or was it Jim Beam? But I drank as much as I could before I passed out. Like in one go, I took the medication, like this, whatever I had, drank as much as I could. And then the duty officer came So obviously I fell asleep. I realized that you can't die that easy on those medications like Valium and that. It takes a lot. Mostly you just have a massive sleep. And then so I woke, essentially the duty officer came, was like, this guy's due for work. Where is he? Banged on the door, popped open the door because I'm on base. And then they're like, fuck, we'll take him to the ambulance. And then I remember I woke up in hospital. And I remember they thought that I'd done it as like a stunt. They told me they're like, this is like an attention seeking thing. Because obviously it must not be the way to do it. But I don't know the normal way to do it. Like, I don't know how to do that stuff because it was quite a split decision. Yeah. I remember I was 4 a.m. I looked up. I'm like, I don't want to go to work. There's boxes of stuff here. There's drinks there. That seems like a decent idea. Haven't slept in a long time. And then I don't also think that it was that foresight. It wasn't like I sat there and thought, I have to, this is my big plan to jump off a building. It was kind of like.
Looking back, do you perhaps think that it was like the opposite of attention seeking? Right, you were kind of in a space. I'm speaking for you, right? But you were kind of in a space where you were kind of feeling like nobody cared. Yeah, right. You were like, I've disappointed these people.
Like to disappear, right? Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, because you don't want more attention because it brings a bigger spotlight on the problems that you already have.
Yes,
I just wanted to disappear in that moment. Yeah, but then I realized I believe that quantum immortality is another moment. I think that it doesn't really matter what you do; you will come back until you've done what you're meant to do here. I believe it's true. But suicide changed the process because I've had 2 near deaths, and that was one where I saw only black. 2 near deaths I've had, I saw only light, warmth, love, acceptance, being seen exactly as you are. But this process I saw just dark. It felt like I was laying in a thing for 100 years and I was just laying down in black, cold for 100 years. And then I came back to another thing. It felt like that. So it was a different process for that sort of thing. Almost like I had and I didn't come back the same person that left. It changed the process quite a bit. And then I do believe that does change the process. If you to essentially be the one that forces the cards to happen, I think it changes the game. You can come back and lose something. Like there can be a punishment, right? Like someone pulls a shotgun out and loses half their face or something. And then you have to live like that for the rest of your time. You lose something. Maybe I lost my sharpness to a point, but you come back with that. But I also think that I gain the humility now because if I'm around people and they're mentally, I'm a lot more like humble.
You understand.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand when you talk to men and they're like, even to them, the thing to you, it might not be a big deal. Like someone's like, I had a breakup or this and it broke me. And guys are like, what a pussy. Like, this is nothing.
We've all been through that.
But to them, sometimes it just broke them. Like, and guys, I understand it with veterans because after that, I ended up selling drugs for years. And then I got caught. My ex went to the police on me and sent me to prison.
Different one.
Yeah, but I was cheating on her as well. So I get that concept. That's a repeated pattern that I've come to realize that I'm the problem.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the Army hospital 14 months. I lived there full-time with veterans. So full-time Keith Payne unit. I was the longest stay that's ever been there. Keith Payne unit, Greenslopes in Queensland. It's like an Army mental hospital. I lived there 14 months full-time.
So you just brought up something that was quite interesting. Yeah. You said that you were the problem. You realized that you were the problem.
I always have been.
How old were you when you realized that?
I always have been. I realized that late. I realized that in prison.
Yeah.
I was sitting down and I started I had this moment where I realized that I was like a hardened shell. Mm-hmm. Like I realized all of this exterior, these tattoos, this strength, this facade. Mm-hmm. Like this is the facade, but after that I can build something now from the facade. It's like you have to be strong and then you can be vulnerable. But now you're strong, it's okay to be vulnerable. That took a process to realize that because I see a lot of guys too, they're at the fight gym, they're this and that, and they're very strong, but they're scared to be vulnerable. Their heart is pierced or something hurt them and now they I'm closed off. The heart and the head disconnects and you need it all. Like otherwise you can't be the concept of the complete man. Like you can't be, you're still a shell. But strength is good. And logic and all of these things.
You can't be passionate and
passion without imagine a life without passion, right?
It's
shallow existence.
And especially dating, etc. You're never gonna find somebody who's gonna be comfortable with you if you're that hard. That's true. And
women are different, right? Like guys forget that women, in my view, feel first. Mm-hmm. And if you can't hit them on the feelings, they don't want logic. Like logic comes later. Yeah. Where they're like, oh, my man's this, but you have to get them in the feelings first. Yeah. And give that sort of make them feel. You also have to feel because you have to. Empathy is the
you can't fake it.
Yeah, when you're talking to a chick, like empathy is the communication strategy, right?
Yeah,
like you can't be. You have to be empathetic to be able to see, be calibrated. And some guys aren't. They try to bulldoze a chick over, or they try to she's really impressed by my wisdom or they just end up.
They try and like skip it.
Yeah,
but it always comes back.
That's right.
Yeah,
you have to get the feelings first. If you get a woman's heart, the mind comes easy, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have her heart, the brain is easier.
But you have to give yours to get it.
But you can't get her brain. Like doesn't. Feeling is a big thing. As for men as well. And then I get a lot of guys but a lot of the stuff that guys, in my view, fantasize about, like the red pill ideas or things, they want control. But the more that you turn the control lever up in that you're controlling a woman, the less the love vanishes.
Yeah.
And then you will lose her.
It's all about balance, right?
Yeah. You will lose her. Like love cannot be contained. Like love can't be controlled, right? Like you can't control who you love. Sometimes you meet a girl and you're like, fuck, I don't like. Why do I care? Like she's shit.
You're checking if she's seen your texts.
Yeah, she's and she's not a good prospect.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like this connection? And then also a breakup. You're like, why didn't this connection will end? Why am I still caring? Like, why am I checking this profile? She's not even that hot. And then it's surprising to see that there's this something there, like a thread or something exists, and a thread like that can last for a very long time. Yeah, I can end up with soul ties and things to a girl that they didn't want because they don't know how to close it off. Closing it off is often you have to kind of forgive what happened. Like it can be forgiving the girl. Maybe because a lot of the things that we screw up as mostly, we have expectations of others, and then if they don't live up to them, we're like, oh, they betrayed me in some way. Yeah. But our vision was not what their vision was. Like often we never even communicated with the girl. We had an idea for who she was, but it wasn't who she was or who she wanted to be.
Yeah. You had a preconception of what you wanted her to be before you entered the relationship.
That's it.
You just mentioned the soul ties. Yeah. This is really completely random, but I was thinking about this a couple of months ago with a good friend of mine. Yeah. We were talking about quantum mechanics and things like this. And I brought up quantum entanglement being such as, have you ever had that feeling about somebody who's very far away?
Yeah.
That feeling, maybe somebody's passed away
like
in a
thread.
family.
You can pull them. If you were to pull on it, you would find them again, right?
You feel something weird, and then that day something happens and you get the news, right?
That's true, yeah.
I believe that is called quantum entanglement, like you've just said, the soul ties. But you just said how to end a soul tie.
I think you end it by essentially forgiving and forgetting the person in a way, if you want to. And also, I believe I have a theory. So, like,
do you think it has to be both sides?
I think that you can cut it yourself, and that eventually she'll feel that the disconnect has happened and she'll connect to someone else. I have a theory or a thesis that women don't have a conscience, and their conscience comes through the man in her life. So she connects to you, you connect to God. But she doesn't connect to God directly. She's connected to God through her man. And I also have a theory that so the lattice exists as a Grinberg concept, like the Akashic records, where everything exists that will ever exist. And I believe that essentially you tune into that via conscience, via empathy, but via fine-tuning, you're walking your path. I believe you're born with a heads-up display on how to live life. That's your conscience. It evolves the more that you stick to that morality, the more that you do, I feel like I need to do the right thing here, and I do it. The more I pass tests, I say that I want a wife.
You level it up.
Yeah, right. I want a wife, but I'm entertaining a bunch of whores. I want a wife and be a good man, but I'm like lying to my friends or cheating or doing some crap that I'm not meant to. And as we all have, I have certainly. But I find that as I get to be more of my path, the conscience or the ping, in my view, from the lattice was essentially, it's a frequency concept. So you're on a ham radio and you might be kind of slightly off, but you're tuning it close. So you can hear the music, but you get it a little bit more refined over time where the music's a lot clearer. And then if you're to lose that calibration by doing things that move against who you are, you feel it. You're like, ooh, yeah, that feels bad. Versus the opposite, when you're always uncalibrated, as I was taking drugs, gambling, being with hoes, lying to girls, then I don't feel anything. I feel like
you don't know.
But I feel also, but every day I'm like, I feel miserable. Like when I'm not doing this stuff, I can feel like I want to die.
Yeah.
I feel like is this it? This is like a nihilism concept,
How do you think like average people can get out of this? Just generally speaking, the people that are really there, they can't hear the music. All they hear is the static.
Yeah.
How can they start to tune themselves?
Yeah. I believe that one way to do it is essentially you understand that life is kind of like your reality is an algorithm. Like you understand the algorithm of Instagram and this and that. You need to turn off what it is that you don't want to see anymore. You have friends around that might not be good for you. You have people around you that might not be good for you. You need to cut the distractions and then over time start cutting people off. You need a reality reset, and that's scary because essentially I believe like some tarot ideas, and the Hermit card is man's strongest card because a lot of guys need to be alone, and only in a loneliness will you find yourself. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to be lonely. It's okay to be sad. Only in those moments though where you realize that essentially you need to work on yourself and you lose the distractions, and it's scary, right? Sometimes guys are like, but I have a girl that's I don't feel a connection with her. It's like entertaining, you know. I don't want to be alone. It's okay. It's not that bad. But again, you've been presented, in my view, a test. Like you've been presented something that's not good, and you're not ready to push it out of the way and be like, I have faith. Yeah, I have faith that there's something better. If I lose this, I believe there's something better coming along. Now you're showing conviction, like that. That's strength, right?
That's faith.
Yeah, you are ready to start to step into the shoes of who you could be. But I believe no distractions. I have a theory, like the guys do the exercises in my group. You do your 30 minutes to an hour sitting on your bed, no distractions, no phone, no nothing. Throw everything away. No one coming in, on your own. Doesn't matter if you live with mum. You have no distractions, and you see what comes up. And some guys, their first thought is, oh, this is stupid. I want to go on my phone. I want to talk to this chick. I have all of these things and I need to do all of this crap. But then something comes up always. Yeah. One first idea where you're like, I want to be rich, or I wonder what my ex is doing. And then you look back and you're like, pull it. Like you say, it's an entanglement, right? Yeah. You pull on that one thread, you pull it, and then there's an unraveling can come, right? And then you pull it and pull it and pull it. And if you can pull on those threads far enough, you'll see there's a seeping infection for pretty much everyone.
I had something very similar to this. So like you said, I had psoriasis very bad. I'm still dealing with it as I'm growing. But I had a coach at the start of this year. It was just some random guy I met in a bar, right? Like almost like fate. It was really random. He was an older guy. I still speak to him to this day. He's helped me through a lot of life. He taught me a lot of things just over Zoom calls. Yeah. And he once said to me, he was like, look, I want to do this hypnotism exercise with you. I was like, okay.
Hypnosis works.
I was like, okay, whatever. And he made me do this and like stare at my fingers and keep moving them. And I was doing it for like 10 minutes. And he's going, keep going. I'm like, mate, this is fucking ridiculous. You know, I'm getting bored. And suddenly I looked past my fingers and he stopped me and he was like, okay, what were you thinking? Oh, that was why. He asked me if I had any guilt or regrets. Yeah. And I said, I thought about it for a minute or two, and I said, I don't think so. I actually don't think so. And he said, okay, let's find out. I did this. He said, tell me, what were you thinking about? And I won't go into detail about what it was, but it was essentially the fact I'd promised to somebody something years and years ago, and I wasn't fulfilling that promise. Yeah. Right? Like you said, I wasn't tuned to my frequency. I had promised that I was absolutely going to do this.
It can be shameful or something where you're like, I'm that man that can do this. I should do this.
It was one of the last things I ever said to this person as a promise. Yeah. And that popped up, and it was the first thing. And since I rectified it, and I feel so much better. Yeah. I feel myself. I feel happy, content.
Seed, right?
Yeah.
Deep seed.
And it was that unraveling, like you said. As soon as I unraveled that, I realized there was more. There was more regrets, more things that I had said that I didn't do. And then you kind of get at peace with them and you get to fix them one by one, and you feel a lot better. You know, the tuning gets better.
That's an interesting concept. You fix it, right? You don't just see it and then be like, because when it's aware, it's gone from the subconscious by a thread, and now it's presented to the conscious where you're like,
now I have to do something.
You can't get away from it. But
it's like your person who sits there, meditates and thinks, I want to be rich, and then goes back to eeting Cheetos and playing CSGO.
I don't think, from my experience, meditation is kind of a nothing. I don't believe that I think that it's mostly just fake. Like it doesn't, it's like, you know, you're in a position where you're in a state of that calmness and all of these visions and things can come up, but where's the action? You need to be able to do it in a state of all of the time. Like if you're connected to, you feel a oneness only when you're meditating. I feel a oneness all of the time. Because I believe that it's living authentic. Authenticity is the highest frequency for real. Higher than love. Authenticity, because it's everything in one. It's you are who you say you are. And it's not always to be easy to be maintained. Like, of course, we all have secrets, and I still have some that I wouldn't jump on and talk about. But you have to live as authentic as you can, which means that essentially you're moving in your direction.
You've just brought something into my head as well, just a random thought. Yeah. You know, some people have that aura, right? Like we joke about it nowadays, it's the meme aura, right? Yeah. But you know, some people walk into a room and people feel it. Yeah. What do you think that is?
I believe it's authenticity. And I believe it intimidates people that are unauthentic. If you're an authentic person, you will lose people and be like, why do people not like me suddenly? Why do people dislike me? Why do people see me say my things that are bad, and then they'll use it to gatekeep me? Or if I run around and I'm like, never in Dubai, but I've had a coke habit years ago, and people will be like, that guy, he's a cokehead. How could you ever trust this guy? But they have their own secrets. I know people very well. I also know that you have some bad secrets that if I was to reveal them, you would be unhappy. I just wear mine so that other people can as well, because other people see it and they're like, oh, I've never seen this guy that's like, he's because I have my own shit.
They hide their secrets.
Maybe I have a porn habit, or I have some other shit that I'm doing that I'm not happy with. And seeing this guy be able to do it, maybe I can't run around and tell everyone that I have it, but I see there's hope because I look and I'm like, this guy's had a lot of the stuff that I'm going through, and he's, figured out a way for it to work. Of course, I'm not perfect, but I've made a thing for it to work. Then maybe that's a way that I can do it. Because, like you say, like anything that's done in the dark, there's a shame attached. Like it's a level of shame because you can't feel it, you can't talk about it, you can't incorporate it, you can't learn the lesson of it because you can't talk about it. If someone watches porn and they're to like, I could never tell anyone that I do it because like they might think that I'm some sort of freak. Well, then there's a lot of shame attached to that, and shame is the lowest frequency. If I know you're shameful of a thing, I can control you extremely well because I can trigger it. I can trigger shame. I can trigger this.
And then you become that thing you're fearing, essentially.
Of course. And I say it all of the time. Fear is a magnet. Whatever you fear, you will collide with. That's the irony. Fear is not something that you fear it, now I'm going to avoid it. It's actually a magnet. Because any sort of, I believe that what you send up to the lattice or the Cartier records, whatever it is, the frequency, any emotion attached to your thoughts or feelings, that gives it a priority. So imagine you send a Bitcoin transaction out and you put a gas fee on the transaction. The higher the fee, the quicker it's picked up. The higher the emotion attached to the feeling and idea and vision that you have, the quicker that it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're fearful of something, you'd be very surprised to see that, holy shit, that just happened.
That was an amazing comparison.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's true. I think that's true.
So now you've transitioned very nicely into crypto, really. Why do they call you the king of crypto?
I was in Bitcoin since 2015. I actually got introduced to Bitcoin by a billionaire. So I was doing some sort of stuff that I was dropping off something to a person, and he was a kid, like he was very young. I didn't know he was 18 at the time when I was there. I met him. My friend said, don't really talk to this guy. He's kind of odd. He was a crypto guy, a Bitcoin guy.
He was just like a nerd.
He was a kind of, quite a nerd. Yeah, and he had his issues as well. He was very young. And then I remember I walked up, went to drop him his stuff. He was in a penthouse. It was on the Gold Coast. And I was like, I remember I saw him. But in the moment, he opened the door as I pulled up and got upstairs. And then he was arguing with his girl. His girl was walking out, and I could see that I was like, should I just drop this and like bail? I don't want to like get involved.
So I ask him if he's all right.
Yeah. But then I remember I saw his face and I saw him and I saw that someone that needed a friend, right? He was a kid. And then I remember I sat and talked to him. And then I thought, I'm like, this guy's like the richest guy that I've ever met. He had just shit like sprayed everywhere that was like luxury goods. Just, I could see that he just had no concept. No concept of money.
Yeah.
And then I remember he said, he's like, my parents are, it's really hard to be, I'm in Bitcoin, I'm rich. It's really hard to be in this field because my parents don't have money and it's very stressful. And he's like, I'm kind of wasting my life of all of this stuff. And then he talked to me about Bitcoin for like 30 or 40 minutes. And now he's a billionaire. I'm not going to say who it is, but he talked to me for 30 or 40 minutes. And that moment changed my whole life because I started to look at Bitcoin and bought it when it was $800. And then when I got out of prison, it was $20,000. And it changed my whole life, that one moment. Yeah. Without that, there's nothing.
Did you know this whilst you were in prison, that it was going up?
I knew that it was going up, but I didn't know it was going up as much as it was.
So when you came out, you were like,
I was
wow.
not loaded as that I was a multimillionaire, but it was the beginning of me to get to a multimillionaire status. Get me a route.
Couple hundred?
Probably, 500K, something like that.
And
which for me was great because I remember getting out, I'm like, I'm finished. Like,
was it the first thing you did when you got out? You were like...
Yeah, because I had given my dad money of mine to manage when I was out and it was spent. So I didn't have anything really to manage.
So you got out and you were like, I want to see what crypto is.
Yeah, I need to do this. And I remember I got out and I had an obsession. I remember I got out, so I got out on parole. I had to stay on parole with my mum because she had to live with me as part of the bail condition, or not parole conditions. You have to have a family member there. I was on a curfew. I had a tracker on my ankle, like some fucking, I don't know, like sex offender.
Yeah.
And then so I couldn't really go in public a lot because not only that, it's just you on a curfew. There's not really places that you can go. So I couldn't have social media.
You just started looking into crypto.
I was obsessed with crypto. I couldn't sleep. I was so obsessed with it that I just couldn't sleep. And that was the period of would have been 2017, like the 2017 bull market. We started a fund late in 2017, Talk Ventures, me and some friends of mine. We ended up managing 80 million at the peak. And then what happened was some competing fund Googled my name, found out because we had Singapore records or Hong Kong, one of the records of the registry. They Googled my name, saw that I was a criminal, convicted, posted it like a big article. One of the members, founding partners, is a criminal. Companies that we'd invested in were like, we don't want to be associated with this guy. Like, you guys have to pull out as investors. We're going to send your money back. And then I said, oh, don't worry, I'll step aside. I left the company and then I essentially missed out on a lot of money, tens of millions of dollars. But I know that it was the right thing to do because I never told them the truth about my history. So I felt bad because I know that they didn't ask, were you in prison or were you this? But who would? I should have still been like, just so you know, I was, convicted of this.
Do you think that would have changed their...
I think they wouldn't have gone ahead with what it was. So I think that for what I did, it was the best option for me.
Let me rewind very quickly to you meeting that guy when you were dropping something off to him, let's say a pizza. You're there with your pizza and you were told to not speak to this guy.
Yeah, my friend told me before I dropped it off, he's like, don't talk to him. You're just going to waste your time. This is a waste of time. But I've always had this ability where...
What was it because... like they feared him, or were they like he's crazy, or was it just he's weird?
He's just thought he's weird. He's doing something in crypto and kind of nerdy.
But always saw something in him.
I just saw something that I've always seen where I have time for people. It doesn't worry me. Like it never worries me because I was a loser for a long part of my life, like a very long period of time. So it doesn't bother me to be around people that people think are losers. Yeah. Some of the best knowledge I've ever learned is from people think are a loser. Because they have an unusual view of the world.
They've had that time to reflect.
And a weird view, right? Like they can be like a loser in socially everything, but because they maxed out one stat. They're 100 in crypto. Yeah. They're 0 in charisma and shit like that, of course. But when you talk to them about crypto, you're going to learn something. Yeah. Versus the others that might be like 10, 10, 10. Every stat is like mid-range, right?
Yeah.
Like you talk to, I don't know, like a musician or something, a very high level one, or an athlete. They're obsessed with their craft.
They're passionate.
That's what I talk to them about, something outside of that. Like boxer, they don't have a lot of other stuff. They love boxing. That's their thing, right?
After he told you about Bitcoin, and it was like $800 at the time. Obviously, still to most people, it's $800.
Yeah, it's
right?
expensive. Yeah.
So, what convinced you to? Like, how much did you put in?
I remember putting in, I would have paid tens of thousands, but I was also buying Ethereum as well.
Yeah, but what convinced you? Because
what
obviously,
convinced me is just that his way of mentioning it, his conviction. He had a conviction to him, like he had a. I don't know if you ever talk to a master, like you would, where they're a master at their craft and they convince you via their conviction. Like it's contagious, right? Like their surety is contagious. Like if you're on a battlefield and the commander is just like Napoleon levels of surety.
You just believe. Yeah, you knew it was true.
Yeah, I knew that to die under such a thing it's not going to happen because I'm so sure that. And a lot of the time, those ideas do work out, right? Yeah. Like you see some founders and things, and they're just so sure they make a path, right? And I believe that that's true. But I also believe conviction changes things, and that I also believe that certain people, or if not all, can actually alter reality as it is. I think that's true. Conviction changes things.
Let me ask you, did you maintain the same level of conviction and belief in crypto from that moment until now? I've
had a conviction, but I've also not botched it, but my conviction's gotten stronger with time. As a conviction now in price action is pretty high. Like I believe that I can call the market really well, the macro market, not all of the altcoins and things like that. I'm not great at that, or the master. But my conviction is high in that I know what Bitcoin is to be. I believe Bitcoin's the control structure. I have my own visions for what Bitcoin is. I actually believe that Satoshi itself may be an antichrist concept, like into the future. I think Bitcoin itself is the birth of a very like super intelligence, in that it's happened on the chain. The computers or the systems have a means of secure hash communication. I don't believe this they're mining, doing simple equations, and it's all pointless, and the energy just disappears for some reason. I don't believe that. I think super intelligence is secure to means of payment, electricity that cannot be shut down. I think eventually, like 2030, 2032, you'll see BlackRock will orchestrate a Bitcoin fork, and they'll add in AI interoperability to the chain, and they'll have the votes because they'll have control over the mining infrastructure, or they'll have stakes in the mining companies in a way that they can push them to vote on this fork. US already controls like 50% of the mining hash. So I believe they will vote this fork in, and then you'll see that it's actually like the AI interoperability. It was the birth of an AI system. I believe it's true. Because you can't shut it down.
What will this system do, essentially?
I think it's just the birth of a super intelligence, and we'll come to see what it is to actually...
Like AGI?
I think it's a step before that, or step after that.
How will that work? Would it be like the mining computers?
It can be the mining, but it's also not just that. There's nodes and there's all of the things. So theoretically, it could have poisoned the whole chain already. Like it could have already poisoned the systems, right? But I believe that, so the way that it works for me is this: I don't believe like the Satoshi model from the past. Bitcoin white paper released on Halloween, released specifically on that day. It doesn't really make sense, right? It's meant to be a means of like financial disruption. I believe it's a dark product, and I believe it's like a Rocco's Basilisk concept. Anyone who like is there to push it will have riches and like wealth and fame and success. And anyone who stands against it won't just miss out on the next financial system, and that they won't be rewarded. They actually will actively be punished. Specifically since Ross Ulbricht got out of prison, like the Bitcoin chain, it's almost like it never forgot about him. They moved like $1 billion worth of Bitcoin before he got out. Like that, they weren't Silk Road coins. You know, you don't know that there can be much more to it. He's an evangelist, or he's the proof of concept, right? Silk Road itself, as much as it might not have been good in what it was for, it was the proof of concept for Bitcoin, right? The dark web marketplace. It was a lot of users and a lot of utility. So
yeah,
they still got him out, right? And I don't believe like these pardons and all this stuff. I think there's much more to it. I think BlackRock's like moving into it as well in the way that they've structured it and run it. I think that because even on like their ETF codes, they're allowed to vote on forks, like with your shares, they can. Kind of like how they leverage companies normally, like, you know, like Coca-Cola and things like that. If they control a large amount of the shares, they make
the decisions.
They can vote with those shares.
So for me, I invest into crypto. Yeah. I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But can you break down what the blockchain is and how it works as simple as possible? Because I think that one of the biggest things that people struggle with, and I had this myself going into it, I'd used crypto for a while. I knew the case uses of it. Yeah. But the thing that I struggled to, you know, really, like you said, be 100% confident on was I didn't understand how it worked deep down. And to be honest, I still don't know 100% how everything runs.
I wouldn't say that I understand on the deepest level. I understand as an investor. I believe that it's just a payment layer, a means of payment. That's a secure payment for Bitcoin itself. I consider it a store of value. Lots of, I consider they have this much mining infrastructure. Maybe it's at the moment like tens of billion or 100 billion. The companies that matter have this much equity in the chain. They're going to protect the chain as they can. Enough of the developers believe the Bitcoin story, or they're interested in the story, that I think that they're also going to probably watch the chain to make sure that it doesn't get attacked or poisoned or damaged in a way.
How can it be poisoned?
I would think that it can have like a 51% attack would be possible if someone controls a large amount of the miner, or the miners collab and they did a reorg, or they did some sort of attack on the chain. It would be possible. A theoretical double spend. So if you control 51%, this is very theoretical. I'm not developed. And then you control more of the hash, you could theoretically do double spends, meaning that you could send a transaction or like reorg the chain and then send another transaction. So they wouldn't be able to see that the coins have left that specific wallet, and you could theoretically do like two
double
deposits.
Money.
Yeah, double. Yeah. But you would have to collab with all of the miners, and it would damage the network in such a way that wouldn't really make sense. Because
nobody would want to use it again.
As soon as a reorg or something happens, the exchanges can like stop deposits. They can
regulations
the chain,
come in,
damages the chain, and it would damage the miners. Like whichever one kind of did it, they would kind of be able to have a look. You would have to collab.
So when you say damage and like poison the chain, you're talking more about like the reputation.
It's a lot of the thing with crypto, the Bitcoin. It's all reputation. It's kind of like fiat, right? It's like if someone just pulls up and then all of a sudden you can print a lot of, like, I don't know, they have AED here. If they were running something where they were printing a ton of AED, they investigate that and smash it hard, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to. Because it damages the trust in the currency. And that would be trust. Like Bitcoin's trust-based. People know that it's 21 million. The inflation's 2%. It's fixed. I can see, I can see Sailor's wallet. I can see this guy's wallet. I see when the transactions happen. I can predict what's to come in the future. If that's to be damaged, maybe they do a reorg. Maybe they like can change a supply cap if they control, maybe a rogue devs or something could do something unusual. But I don't believe that's also a Satoshi idea. I believe Satoshi comes, so the AI fork happens. I believe Satoshi never moved his coins because he has, 1 million of them or something. And then I believe that, so AI fork will happen in 2030. I believe that there'll be 2 chains. There'll be AI Bitcoin chain and Bitcoin legacy. I believe Satoshi will move his coins to AI chain, dump legacy. And then people will be like, the AI or Bitcoin or Satoshi has chosen his choice.
AI chain isn't out yet, right?
Not yet, but I believe that comes. And that will be his idea that Satoshi, in my view, will move his coins to the AI chain or stick to that and then dump legacy. And people will be like, wow, Satoshi's chosen AI, but Satoshi always was the AI component. I believe that. Because I don't believe how, like human greed, it's Bitcoin
so that's kind of the agenda.
I believe that's the final push. I have to believe that'll be the final thing. But Bitcoin itself, it's the perfect concept for greed, right? Because you're going to protect it. It's an idea that gets the devs, it gets all of the people on board. Because a lot of the devs that they love Bitcoin and they always did, so they protect the idea and look after it.
Because it's going to make them more.
Yeah, and then they like the idea of free money and financially, it's like being sovereign. But now it's not that. Like the idea has changed. Not to say that Bitcoin's a bad product or anything like that, but it's changed a lot. Like ETFs, companies buying it on debt, exchanges doing this. There's I believe chain analysis is they know a lot of stuff that happens on the chain. They can, it's not you have custody, yes, but is it as it used to be? I don't believe that. In the future, can they censor mining? Probably. These sort of ideas can come about. Can they censor wallets? Probably, because they control, I believe, with a fork. So I believe also it needs to become quantum resistant. Like quantum computing theoretically can crack hash, right? Yeah. And I believe that's another way of what they'll do when they fork it. Like that'll be another idea.
So if quantum computing,
they have to fork it. They can fork the chain, and that it becomes slightly different, and then it's quantum resistant.
What happens if you fork the chain? What does that mean?
They just change some of the code, and then they signal that they want to fork the chain, meaning they want to change some parts of it that make it quantum resistant, because they can make it quantum resistant so the old wallets and things are less likely to be hacked. Because they had some changes where the very old Bitcoin wallets are easier to hack than the new ones. Because they changed something. I'm not the expert of it, but they changed something around the guessable password. It's a lot easier.
the codes,
right?
It's
easier then. Yeah, the seed code is easier to guess then than it is today. So they did those processes, and that's like that would kill the chain, right? Like if, I don't know, you log onto your ledger and 1 million ledgers or something have just been, the seed's cracked and you lose all your crypto. Well, crypto's finished. But then also who would do that? Because then they would get a bunch of crypto, but they would have done so much damage to the chain.
And the crypto is worth nothing.
They've done so much damage to the chain for little. And if you are a miner or you're a dev or you're this, you're also heavily invested, because now your miners might be worth nothing. Like you're mining for nothing, right?
I understand. So essentially, do you see crypto in the future being like the common paying method? Like instead of your bank card, you tapping, you're giving ETH or Bitcoin away.
I think that what will happen is Bitcoin itself will be the pristine store of value. I think it will just be like kind of like gold, like you won't use it as much.
It'll be the reference.
Yeah. But I also think that a means of payment, there'll be like CBDCs. There won't be CBDCs, they're stable coins, and they'll run a stable coin. Like instead of having USDC, Tether, it'll all kind of become one. Like you'll deposit Tether, you'll deposit, and they'll all push it into one, and it'll just be a rebranded CBDC idea. Yeah. So you'll have the dollars that you hold, the Bitcoin, it'll be in one wallet, it'll be like a Fed wallet. And you'll be able to move your dollars into Bitcoin, which some people will do. But fiat is just easier. Like I don't believe that this Lightning Network and things, because if you were to buy like a cola and pay Bitcoin, and then the store owner sells that Bitcoin for fiat because they don't want to hold Bitcoin, then you're a net seller. Like you've taken your Bitcoin, given it to someone who sold it, versus you to just pay fiat and never sell your Bitcoin. I think that will be a thing. I think this narrative will be never sell your Bitcoin, and it'll be $1 million a coin. Like 2028, I believe Bitcoin's $1 million. For sure. What's that, 20 trillion market cap? But by then gold itself is nearly 4K, and gold's like, nearing at 30 or 40 trillion market cap now. It's this gold, it's very clunky compared to Bitcoin. You don't know how much they're inflating it. Gold I love as well, but it's a different product.
So the concept of never sell your Bitcoin is also very interesting because it's like a never ending cycle.
Yeah, of course. And they'll loan against it, right? Because they have Bitcoin backed bonds coming, which means that essentially that could be a dollar milkshake theory. You have Bitcoin backed bonds, they pay dividends in Bitcoin. You can maybe you can borrow debt towards that Bitcoin backed bond, and then you can theoretically just continually print money to an asset that continually goes up, and then it sucks all of that liquidity out of the market. I believe it's true. I've heard that Putin said that Trump, they're trying to move their debt onto the blockchain to essentially rug pull, and I believe that's a big part of actually what they are doing.
This was actually the next thing I was about to ask you. Trump, not Trump himself, but I think Don Jr. launched a coin, World Liberty something. What do you know about
financial?
it?
Because I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but I don't believe in the valuation.
Yeah, I looked at the coin very briefly. I think 4 days after launch, and it actually went down.
Yeah,
I've never seen a coin go down like that. Like on the day it launched, it went down.
I believe that. I think that it's essentially a fund. They buy products. They buy like I don't know, shares or parts of Ethereum or things like that to have their treasury. I just don't understand how it's worth more than its treasury as a product. Like, yes, it's World Liberty Finance and it's backed by these people that are important, but what's the utility? Like, you're investing in a fund maybe, but what's the utility? Like, why am I invested in a fund at 5 or 10x valuation to the actual fund itself? Like, what are they investing in? Where's the speculation coming from?
So you think it's going to be a rug pull?
I think it's not. They are still valuation that if they own $500 million worth of Ethereum, then the market cap should be 500 million. That's like, it needs to stick to what it is. It can't. How is it going to expand? I don't, but also I don't know everything about it. I haven't done a lot of studies, but I saw Trump token and all of these things as well. I don't like these ideas. Like I really don't.
It kind of ruins
it ruins the mode of crypto. It's like, I'll let you guys have what you want, but also I'm going to launch my own shit. I'll let you guys have, these rules and these laws and there's this, but I'm also going to extract. Like, I don't like this. Like, you can have what you want, but I want to make 10 billion. You can have, but I guess it's always been like that with certain presidents, right? Like the old days, it's like, I'm going to get what I want from like, military weapons companies. We're going to send you off to die. Actually, now I'm just going to launch a bunch of coins and a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. How do you feel about all the altcoins and everything like that? Because it was a big phase recently, and I know it was a phase in like 2020.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Did you get involved?
I got
did
burnt.
you do some?
I've been burnt before. I had even me. I've been burnt on alts before. I've invested in a couple because we used to invest in startups. I invested in HyperNet. It's the startup that failed. They rug pulled and scammed. But I invested 400 Ethereum. So what's that? Like 1.6 mil. I invested in Hedera Hashgraph. I invested over $1 million in that product when it first launched, and they never told us they did a family and friends around. So they did I was investing at 12 cents. They had investors at 5 cents, and they had a family and friends around at like 1/10%, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then obviously when it launched, the token dumped to like 1 cent.
All the family and friends got
cash
out
because they were happy as shit.
Yeah,
and it was in the bear market as well. And then they offered us a solution where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna give you your tokens back over the next year," but the Hedera was like 1 cent. So I was like, "Oh, fuck these guys! Like, I don't want to."
Yeah,
I'm in it.
You bought in at 12.
Yeah, so I bought in at 12.
They're going to give you back your tokens.
At theoretically, they were meant to give you your full valuation back at tokens at 1 cent. But then I was like, "Nah, fuck this! I'm not doing it." I talked with the team online and did like live meetups and that. I'm like, "Nah, I'm not signing this. Fuck these guys." I was the only one who didn't sign it. And then the product now was worth like 5 or 10 million. So because the Hedera is 22 cents now.
Okay.
So I didn't take it at 1 cent.
So if you had you would have made that money back 20-fold.
Yeah. But I fucked up. But I've done that many times.
How do you let go of these things?
I saw BNB at 1,000. I sold it $1. I was buying BNB like BSC chain. So BNB. This is CZ. This is when they just launched. Me and CZ used to follow each other. And then I eventually invested in SNDX. He was like not really famous then. He was kind of nothing. And then they'd raised 25 million. They started doing Neo Gas. I was one of, I don't know, maybe the first few thousand that signed up. I was buying BNB at 20 cents. It went to $1. And then they got kicked out of China. And I remember I was like, it's finished. Like, it's over. These guys, like, I can't hold this. I had 20,000. And now it's $1,000 each, so that would have been 20 million. Yeah, I sold it at 20K.
How do you get over that FOMO?
I have to just you have to live with it.
You just suck it up.
There's never a good time to sell.
Are you never laying in bed and you're like falling asleep and you're like, I would have that super yacht now.
Yeah, I had Polygon the same. I sold Matic Network before they rebranded Polygon at $0.01 and it went to 1.4 something like that. And it was another like 20 or 30 million position.
How do you feel about XRP?
I think XRP runs to like maybe like $8 to $10 a cycle. I think it's very possible. But I'm also like another XRP. I was looking at it when it was like 2 cents, and I'm like, I don't like this this inflation model. Or this guy why is he getting so many tokens? Because they have the guy. Is it Jed McCallum? I think he's got one of the guys from XRP, or he's one of the OGs from the space, and he gets massive distributions, or he used to, and now I think that's finished. But I used to see it, and I'd be like, I'm not fucking bailing that guy out. Like, he's got a past that's his past. I'm not buying his shit.
So these contracts you just talked about, like the distribution, he was getting distribution. What does that mean? So he's getting coins.
He's got an allocation because I believe he's one of the founders, or he's one of the early investors. So he gets a certain amount of coins on it was a set period, maybe every like 3 months.
It's kind of like a salary type dividend
kind
of
of
thing.
But they got it when it was like they were in it like 100th of a cent or something. XRP is like thousands of X for people who invested early. And I had another thing for Hex as well. I missed out on Hex because I was like, Richard Hart. I remember I watch his stuff. I'm like, he's a smart guy. But I remember thinking, I'm like, nah, it's probably going to be a failure.
So what is the difference between, obviously I understand the fundamental differences of the investors, etc., the backings. But what is the differences between, let's say, XRP, Polygon, Hex? Because fundamentally, to me, as an outsider, they look like the same thing. There's just different values.
They have different tech. Like Hex is still, it's like an ERC token, I believe. I think he's also forked the chain so that they have kind of their own chain, Impulse chain. But there's not a lot of changes going on there. But Hex itself, the utility is essentially, it's not really necessary to buy. Like, you don't need to buy it. It's inflated constantly. The concept behind XRP is that it's just very carefully market maked. Like their market makers are the best in the game. Like they're smart. Hex with Richard Hart, he very likely recycled the Ethereum that they received in the sacrifice. through the contract to buy a heap of the supply himself, I would believe. So if you control a large amount of the supply and then you're a very good marketer, the price kind of has to go up, right?
Yeah.
And they balance it in a way that they get very good market makers. But XRP, there's technology there. You know, they've had a few bank partnerships and it's a CBDC alternative, but no one's going to buy XRP to transact with, because imagine a bank does 100 million and then they sell 100 million XRP for what? For fiat. They'll get slippage and then they'll like, oh, your 100 million is now 92 million. It doesn't make sense.
They're better off just doing
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But as a settlement layer, maybe they can use the layer or the tech or what they're building can become something. But then others like, you know, Polygon and things like that, it's just a low cost chain. I mean, Matic is still like a kind of a layer 2 concept, but there's not a lot happening in my view and that sort of stuff. Like it's like Ethereum moves first, everyone watches, and then they do their own thing. Ethereum's problem is layer 2s. Like Ethereum layer 2 is a big problem because then a layer 2s kind of steal or mop up that part of the share of, I don't need to buy ETH now. I'll hold like, you know, other like abstract or something.
Coins off the back of it.
Something else, or like, you know, so it can be problematic, especially if they don't need to use ETH for anything. Like ETH needs to focus on utility for ETH, which is the thing. And also they don't like to manipulate the market. Like they don't like to jump in and be like, buy it. But ETH is going to be great because I mean, Bitmine, which is they've bought, Bitmine's like run by Tom Lee, I think, and they've run from Fundstrat, and they've bought, is it $10 billion worth of Ethereum in the last 2 months or something?
Crazy.
And
Is that why it doubled?
Yeah, and Peter Thiel owns 10% of it. So
See,
Peter Thiel's a beast, right?
Just for like the viewers as well, I had a bit of this FOMO myself recently.
It hits you in the face, right?
I bought a load of XRP at $1.65.
That's not bad, though. What's it now? $2.80 or something?
$3.
Okay,
now.
yeah, still
but
nice, yeah.
for all the viewers who know Sam as well, my co-host who's normally here, I told him as well. I called him and I was like, Sam, you got more money than me.
Yeah.
I said, buy XRP, buy it now. And he's like, I don't understand how it works. How much should I buy? I said, however much you have, and you're not going to use. Buy it. Yeah. Like, trust me, just buy it. Yeah. I didn't even truly know why. I just knew, I had that conviction.
Of course. Yeah.
And I put, 5 figures, as much money as I possibly could afford to like not use in that. And then over the next like 6 months, I had a software that I used and it wasn't accepting my bank cards. So I was paying them in crypto. Oh. And over time, slowly but surely, I emptied.
Oh, you were right at it. Yeah,
I emptied.
I hate that so much.
And then it went from like 160 to 330, I think.
I've had that too. I've done the same thing, buying shit with Ethereum.
And I turned around to Sam. I said, bro, how much did you make? Like, it was at 330. I said, check it. How much did you make? He was like, oh, nice. I made $500. I was like, $500. How much did you put in? He was like, $500. I said, fuck's sake. Okay, moving on.
The dinner, a couple of dinners.
Yeah, mate, it felt so bad in that moment, like knowing I shouldn't have.
It sucks because the conviction was there, right? Like you knew it.
And I believed it.
Yeah, when you believe it, that's the thing that's the hardest. I've had the same thing with Ethereum buying. Like I bought a Lambo, I bought a Porsche.
And then it's doubled the next day.
It's tripled. Yeah, it's tripled on. I was buying at 1,600. But I've also had the same thing. I bought a house when Ethereum was 500. It's just hard, right? There's never a good time though, I think, with all of this stuff. I believe like Peter Thiel and Ethereum. I think Ethereum goes end of the year 6K. I think whether we top in Q1, Q2, Ethereum runs 8 to 10K. Mm-hmm. If this cycle continues and that they just keep buying on debt as rates drop, and we get like a cycle for another 2 years, like that's possible. Mm-hmm. We get like 2 to 3 years of just buying on debt, and this is the final cycle. Like whether we have 2028 and then Bitcoin's 800K because we've just had one continuous cycle, and then we get AI itself pops off 2027, 2028, I believe is big. And then I think this is the final cycle. Like really it is for people. Like this is the final cycle where 2030 onwards for content, anything. If you're a low level producer, you're finished because there's just going to be spammed content instead of YouTube where maybe they're pumping 1 million videos a day. Now AI is here and the tools and the developers and a lot of them will be AI. There's 1 billion videos. So you're standing there yelling and it's harder to get attention. There'll be a lot of low real and it's all AI. Yeah, there'll be a lot of low quality content out. And also there'll be a lot of like you'll talk and they'll study you and they'll just steal all of your ideas. So you'll be standing there talking and they'll be like, but are you copying this guy? And it's not a real figure. And the AI itself,
everything's going to be blurred.
Yeah, if you get a proper singularity, like there'll be AI creators and they'll be able to essentially the AI itself, the AI's payment of method would be Bitcoin, right? So the AI itself can use Bitcoin to settle bills and debts and things that it has itself, right? It'll need data centers, it'll need things. I have dark theory with Bitcoin. I think that Bitcoin itself, if we are at a singularity already, like Bitcoin can orchestrate hits on the dark web. Like money just arrives in an account, you're gone. Extortions can happen on like through the dark web. I need this information and I can access it. Like if it's already like poisoned the computers as I believe it's possibly has, then it can have access to blackmail information and be moving things in certain direction. Certain people just disappear.
So you believe it's a tool that's going to be used, not necessarily in the best way for
I think
humanity.
it's a tool of the control structure. I actually believe that it'll birth like an antichrist idea. It makes sense, right?
But it's also, if you're not in it, you're also going to be far behind.
Rocco's basilisk, right? Like you either push it forward or you suffer.
Yeah.
But you will have to play, right?
You have to do one or the other.
But if you know it,
do you think you can fight against it?
No. I think that if you fought against certain ideas now, you would just die.
Yeah.
I think there's certain beliefs now, certain systems, like there's certain things you can't talk about. Yeah. I'm not even talking about in UAE. I'm talking about in general.
Yeah.
Certain people, if you identify certain figures or anything, I'm not talking about UAE, but I'm talking about like in the West. It's risky now. Like
it's big things happening.
At best, you get shadow banned. At worst, you might just
get deleted.
Suicide or just disappear. Right? There's a lot of suicides happening that I would wonder if they're actually suicides. Right?
Yeah.
I believe there's a lot of controlled opposition where people look to their leadership and things of certain movements and methods, and it's not real. The guys look to guys like Kanye and things, and I believe they're just allowed to propagate what they propagate because they need to see who follows them. Like if you're pushing a message and you're running a thing, you need a leader because then you want to see who's under them. The Luigi Mangionis are the big threat. You don't want many of those just sitting in the basement, not when they're waiting to pop. Because you don't know, he doesn't follow anyone.
You don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, you couldn't predict it.
Yeah.
And he can hurt someone that they didn't want to get hurt, right? So they'd rather have a couple of leaders where they can look to them and then they can see who's on them.
They can categorize them, know who they are.
And they are, right? Because they have the AI product that analyzes all of your footprint online. And then you will be moved into a troublemaker list, like for real. Yeah. And if you're in the troublemaker list...
Are you in the troublemaker list?
I would say so, yeah. 5 or 10 years down the track, you will suffer. And if you're in the troublemaker list as an extreme troublemaker, I believe in the future, certain groups can kind of bring people back. Like consciousness can be like uploaded to a system where you might be stuck in that system forever. Yeah. Like there's different things that they can do in like 50 or 100 years time where you're a real troublemaker. Like they really want to get you for something. And then you're like, oh, this guy passed away.
Like mind jail.
Bring you back. Bring you back to a level of suffering that people can't fathom yet. But there are certain groups and certain things that you can't go against. And if you
have you ever seen... I was playing a game the other day on a plane, Saints Row.
Oh, I've seen the game, but I've never played it. I've seen that.
Like I played it for about half an hour. But the idea is the government gets attacked by aliens, and then the president gets put into a simulation. Oh. And he basically, the first part of the game is the real life. He gets beat up, wakes up in like a cherry life, and he's in the simulation. Yeah. And that is exactly what you're talking about there with the mental stuff, right? With AI, if AI is possible, we can already simulate environments. We can already simulate people.
Yeah, we can,
Just put your brain in there, and you are now living inside of a computer.
Because I believe that's possible too. I believe what's happening now is that there's a lattice that God made, it's my view, which is essentially kind of what we're connected to. It's a conscience. But when they move you into a BCI idea, like a brain-computer interface, like a Neuralink idea, and then essentially VR becomes a thing, I believe they'll make a man-made lattice, which will be a thing that you communicate, but it's man-made. It's data center run. It's, it's being beamed in. It's something that you're interacting, but it's not God-made. And you can lose that connection. Again, your frequency is on the frequency that they give you. Yes. And is it a frequency that will be good for you? You'll come to see maybe or maybe not. You won't
have any control over it.
Eventually it will be a thing that can become very dystopian into the future, I would believe, right?
You know your stuff about crypto. You've obviously studied. Where can people go to learn? Like if I'm, if I want to get involved in crypto, I want to know more because you know about the people who are investing, you're watching their wallets, etc. I don't even know the name of anybody, right?
I think that, you just have you have to have a long-term vision. If you're if you're a beginner investor, you only have time. Like you have time, you have to have a runway that's long. Unfortunately, because I know it's exciting to think I'm just going to jump on a trading account and do all of these things. And some people can be good traders, but a lot will be shit. A lot will end up with a gambling habit, or they'll end up losing their money, or they'll end up stressed. They'll end up with the heart, like Wall Street has a lot of history of people who have heart problems and stuff like that. It's a stressful field. Anything with money is stressful. So how you manage it is you have a long time frame. Like you manage your money in that, like, I'm not looking to get rich in 1 year. I'm thinking 5 or 10 years down the track, and I'm going to keep mailing myself these dividend checks every week. I'm investing $200 in Bitcoin, $200 in Ethereum. I have a shit coin that maybe I'm like pretty bullish on, and then I put $50 in that a week, and I wait, and I know that eventually this will
Those
pop
weekly
up.
investments.
And it'll pop off to a period. Yeah, the DCA, right? They have studies where they say the DCA, like dollar cost average investor, outperforms the person who
Buys
it
and
drops.
sells
Yeah,
and-
it drops. You throw 50K in, and you're like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And then it falls another 20%. You're like, get me out.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I only lost, like 5K or something. And then all of a sudden the price doubles or triples again. And then you're like, get me back in.
Yeah,
It's the
it's
stress.
too late.
Right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
stressful, right? And then it's like,
I went through that, to be honest. at
yeah,
one
same
point.
for me.
Yeah,
I had the same. There was, what's the guy, there was a famous Isaac Newton, is it? It's one of those guys who are very like the
Law of
geniuses of the
averages.
past. Yeah, geniuses of the past. Then they invested in the South Sea bubble. So there was a South Sea bubble where essentially it was to do with spices and transit routes and things where they're like, this is the next, like tulip mania, this is everything. And then he bought low, he made money, he bought again, made money, sold, got out. And then he started to see his friends buying in. And then he's like, they're making money. I'm going to get back in. And then he got back in with all of his wealth at the top. And then the market crashed. And then he lost all of his money and he was bankrupt. And he's he's a very famous, he's an inventor or physicist or something like that.
So what would you say the lesson was there?
I would say that you can't time the market. Even a genius can be
Yeah.
crushed versus, and also anytime that you're excited to invest is a bad time. Any buys or anything that I've bought where I'm scared, I feel bad after I click buy. I'm like, whoa, this hurts.
Yeah.
That's a good time to buy. And any time where I'm like, I don't want to sell because I'm making so much money every day, taking portfolio photos, that's the time to get out of the market. Right?
Yes. Okay. So it's always like the opposite.
Can
of
be,
how you
yeah.
feel.
Madness
Yeah.
of crowds generally runs the opposite.
Yeah. There's one last thing
Yeah.
that I wanted to ask you about. I saw it on your Instagram, I think 2-3 weeks ago, and I didn't quite fully understand it. I saw somebody in the comments calling you maybe the Antichrist as well.
Yeah.
But what is crypto mines?
So crypto mine's a way to essentially mine crypto via like neuromining, so EEG unit. Essentially mine crypto.
So mind control crypto creation.
Possibly. They use that. It also uses and studies your brain data as well.
Okay.
So your data essentially can be sold for studies and you get a crypto reward.
Okay.
So, and also we're coming to a lot of, we're doing a lot of tech. I have the patent for the process,
Yeah.
but I'm also, we're discovering a couple of other ideas to see if it's possible to do this thing, a couple of things that we can do with the EEG. So we're still trying to see if the headset can do it. Then maybe we have to develop our own headsets. But that's the idea.
So
As a UBI concept. So imagine you're replaced, like 2030 happens or 2029. You were driving Uber. You were driving like I don't know lower end stuff that's still respectable, still needed, still legit. But you've been replaced by automation. Maybe they have Teslas that can do it. Maybe they have drones. They have delivery stuff. You're not needed. Well, now an idea is obviously you need a job, you need a way to work, you need to be placated, like you need to do something.
You need a reason.
Yeah, you need to do something. Well, imagine VR becomes a bigger thing and you're like, oh, well, I have all of this free time, I have all of this stuff. How do they monetize people like that? And I've figured out a means to monetize. Not just, I can't say all of the means until we've essentially like proven that it's possible and patented the idea, but it's a way to mine and essentially do tasks with your mind. And also you can sit in a VR concept, you can be rewarded with virtual goods. You have VR, virtual goods, you can stay in the game, you can play Fortnite, you can just sit at home if you want. So it's just the means to like, it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah,
Let's be
okay,
real,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Imagine work.
Ready Player One.
Yeah, imagine a work and you've already like, some things where it's kind of it's a race to the bottom. I'll be frank about it.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit there and say that but it's necessary, right? Like a UBI idea. If you're on universal basic income, how do they fund it? Like, how do they get value out of you? Because they have to get something, right? Like, you can't just be paid and do nothing.
Well, you do.
But you can solve tasks, right? You can still do something. There's going to be an app involved.
So instead you'll be
studied.
hashing.
You can be studied. Yeah, you can solve hashes, right?
Okay. So
like you can be part of the chain if you really want.
do you think that the human brain will be stronger than like an iPhone? Because I know you can like crypto mine on a phone.
I don't think it will be stronger than that. Certainly not through an EEG. But when they start to go to a Neuralink, which is ours is like 6 or 7 connects, but once they go to like 1,000 or more, it's not so much stronger that it'll never be able to compete with an ASIC miner. But it also doesn't need to be mining Bitcoin. It can be mining another chain where essentially the idea is that we have an idea too with a headset. So if you're an emerging country, you can't afford a headset, right? They're like $400 or $500 or maybe $300, whatever. But the idea is that we will give you a headset. It's got $300 worth of crypto on it, but you need to mine that crypto. So you need to be studied. Like your body activity data, your brain data needs to be studied. And once it's studied to that point, then you can unlock the crypto where it pays for the unit and pays you. but you have to contribute to the chain, right? And you contribute to being studied in a way that eventually Neuralink and BCI comes along and they say, who's got all of this data? Like we can't study the same, right? Like if you're to run a lab test of people, you can't pay them enough because a lab test is very expensive to do. People sitting in one room. You got to be paid $100. You got to be paid $100.
You already have it.
Yeah, we already have the data, the tech, and we're studying to make sure that there's not enough noise and how to get the noise down to get quality data back. That's the problem. Like that's a big thing to solve. Yeah. But we're getting that, and then we'll have our own units, and that's the idea.
See, you're very, very smart because I look at this and I always like to play devil's advocate in my mind when I hear ideas like this. And the first thought is like, it's a little bit crazy. And then my first thought was, well, surely the brain can't give you that much mining power, etc. But you're thinking 5 steps ahead of that.
Yeah, of course. Because
maybe even 10.
Rational, right? You have to be rational. You never be a dreamer,
the data.
Right? Yeah, you have to. The data is. Let's be frank. It's a veil of a product it's a data product, right?
Yes.
I don't bullshit. Yeah. I know a lot of people do. We're doing this. It's a data product. Yeah. You buy this and you're giving your data away. Yeah. Similar to a WorldCoin concept where essentially you get paid this much in WorldCoin by Sam Altman, but you give your iris away. And your iris is to be used later on for biorecognition. This product, we'll see what it can be done later, but I mean, that's just the game, right? Like we play Instagram, we do things, we jump on, but we're selling our data. That's why the product is free. It's studying you all of the time.
So how do you feel about Neuralink? Would you get it?
I wouldn't get the Neuralink for the idea, but I believe that there's so much money in being a BCI, like a ethical BCI advocate. Because imagine that you had COVID vax and you needed to be paid trillions of dollars of marketing, right, to get the guy to convince them to get a vax. And that's massively profitable. And then you also now need to convince people to get some sort of technology in their head. I do believe it'll be less invasive over time and all of these things. I do believe Musk will get it. I would believe like early 2030s, he'll be a person that gets it. He has to. But how you can sell it to people that are healthy and people that are like maybe kids, I don't know how that's a concept, but merging with tech is inevitable.
But do you think it will be one of those things, like you said with crypto, where if you don't join it, you'll be left behind?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. And
what if everybody around you is suddenly super smart? Yeah, they're talking with their brains.
Gene editing will be another. Yeah. Like if you have money and you have kids that can be structured through a means of gene editing, like beauty, smart, intelligent, less diseases, they're immune, they don't get the allergies and all of the crap that your kid might get. Your kid will be a slave to that kid, like inevitably. The kid is going to outperform. He lives longer. There's an extra 10 or 20 years, so he has 20 years to acquire wealth and power, and your kid doesn't have the same tools. That's going to be a thing that we're all going to have to come to, and Neuralink will be a concept the same. You can enter that space or you can choose not to, and I believe that it will stay a free choice, but one will see the benefits of the other and they'll be like, I have to. It's so much more like people are kind of,
it's like having an
lazy.
iPhone or not.
They're inherently lazy as well. Why would I carry my phone and have this? I can communicate, like you say, like telepathy will be a thing. 2 people with a unit won't have to communicate with their mouth. They'll be able to sit back and be like, they understand what they're thinking. They understand this. But I don't know how it will adjust the feelings level. Like it seems like a logical product where on that sort of thing, it seems good, but then I don't know how it will work of the rest of the stuff.
Yeah,
like
if your mind is so far advanced, how can your heart catch up?
Yeah, there's more to communication than just saying smart stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's not, everything that you will say will just be, I will Google that answer. There'll be no communication. And who's to say that Google is correct?
Have you watched Black Mirror?
I've watched some of them.
I feel like you definitely should. If you haven't, you should.
Yeah, I've watched some of them. I watched one that was entertaining I've watched some of them.
Have you seen like the social construct one? No. They're all walking around and they basically all have social constructs. They have like bubbles. They have ratings of each other.
Oh yeah.
You should really watch it.
Social credit one. I think that will come.
Yeah, it really ties into. I mean, they already have it in China.
Yeah,
right.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And it very much ties into what you're talking about with Neuralink.
Yeah.
Where it's people have it and they're all communicating. It's like a new society that everybody else isn't a part of.
Yeah, I believe
essentially like having a new phone. If you don't have a phone, everybody's on theirs, and you feel left out. So what do you do?
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think it's the mark of the beast?
The Neuralink?
Do you think it's going to be the steps towards it?
I think we've already had it, to be honest. I don't know what it is, but I think they are many, many steps ahead of us.
Yeah.
I think if all of this is true, I think we're long gone. I think.
Do you think we are?
I think maybe the phone is the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
You know, because have you ever seen the photo? There's like somebody made a slideshow and they took photos of loads of people on their phones and took the phones away. Have you seen that?
No.
So it's just loads of people staring into their hands and they look really depressed. Like when you see somebody looking at their phone, they're like, They're like that. They're focused. They're doing something. When you take away the phone and they're just staring at the palm of their hand, it's weird.
Yeah, and the concept of the apple, right? The bitten apple, so the Adam and Eve story.
Yeah.
And even that Wozniak, when they launched the Apple, first Apple computer was 66666, the price.
Crazy.
Remember they saw that?
Crazy.
I believe all tech goes to one funnel, right?
Yeah. And you either have to be on board or don't. How do you deal with that with your spirituality?
I believe that everything that was meant to be will already be. I believe it's true. I believe we're moving down a funnel to meet the beast, in my view. I believe that's inevitable. I believe like it's big Saturn energies coming in. I believe through Starlink you will meet him in VR. Yeah. I believe the beast or Satan can't come here. Like he can't enter the physical realm. He's blocked from he can't just run in the room and start smashing things. But in a VR concept, you can meet him and you can kneel before him. And I believe a lot of people will learn such an idea.
As a man of God, do you feel that you have a duty to defend it?
I think that I wouldn't say that I'm like, I'm not, I would say that I believe in God and all of these things, but I don't go to church or anything like that. But I don't believe that you can. Everything that has happened is meant to happen. I have a firm belief that eventually something will happen where people get close to being enslaved and some catastrophe will likely happen that essentially doesn't make it happen. I would believe that.
And you're at peace. Being
kind
good.
of, yeah.
Being good in the meantime.
Like you say, you're aligned with you're moving in your period of alignment. I have a theory that when everything's completed and you go, everything goes with you. I believe that. I saw it. I did an iboga trip. So I did an iboga trip, which is kind of like ayahuasca, but stronger, Costa Rica. A friend of mine died at the retreat. We were together. And then she died at the retreat, And then
how?
She I was on an IV, so we went.
You said that so casually.
I've dealt with it for a long time. This was December last year. We went to a iboga trip. 4 of us went there. Polish girl, one of them. And then we were together. I did the iboga the night before, and then was on an IV drip. I asked her. I was like, "You want to go on an IV with me? Because I'm fucked. I had no sleep. It's like a stimulant and a psychoactive at once." Very, very experimental. There's not many people that have run it. It's Costa Rica, Awaken Your Soul. And then I went there at Helios. There's like it's a big clinic thing that they do it. And then I went on IV. She's like, I'm fine. I'm like, promise you won't leave the camp. Don't leave the camp. We're in the jungle, like deep in the jungle. Everywhere you look is trees. And she's like, she was still under the effects of iboga. And she's like, no, I won't leave. That's fine. And then I went on the, I went on the IV. I had 210, 110 blood pressure, fell asleep. They woke me up at like 8 o'clock at 9 o'clock at night. They're like, the Blanca, she's missing. It's pitch black. They're like, she's missing. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean she's missing? And then they're like, she's been missing for a long time. I'm like, she's dead. Like, she's dead. Like,
she's just gone off.
Of course she's dead. It's the jungle. You can't just be missing. It's like so deep the jungle you can't even see in front of you. And then there's like wild animals and shit. And then they found her essentially after she'd been found in a river.
Crazy.
2 hours after that, dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
And then another girl that did the trip with us, so 4 of us went, and another girl's dead last week from the same. She was 4 of us went. This girl died, and another girl died last week.
This is like the stuff you hear about in movies.
Yeah,
like people don't think is real.
Yeah. And I was deep in the jungle with her, and I had another girl with me, and I had to get her out. It was wild. And the iboga trip itself, though, opened a lot of like the reality for me as well. I had to get the body out. I had to talk to her parents. I called her mum high on iboga, tell her that your kid's dead. It's tragic for the mum too, but her mum was a soldier and did well and all these things, but it was a nightmare to get the body out. So expensive. I'm dealing with the shaman who's like, give me money and I'll tell you where the body is. Gave him money, found out where the body was, had to ship it back. It's a nightmare. That is a story in of itself. But I saw the same idea as the reality itself. I believe I saw it on the iboga. They showed a curtain and pulled it and then showed like there's a black hole waiting in the corner for all of you. And eventually when your time is up, it will all unravel with you. And it's like a big rug pull. And it's okay that way. So everything means that you look after people because you're the one that has to, right?
Yeah.
But everything that exists now will go with you when the time is right.
So you believe you should do good?
I think you do the best you can, yeah.
Amazing.
Cheers, pal.
Stephen, thank you very much. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah, for you too.
I've learned a lot from this, and hopefully the viewers have at home. Yeah, thank you very much, my man.
Good to
Cheers.
see you.